everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Leveling Up with JC with the Shot. Happy Friday. It's been another week, and we're another episode in. I'm happy to have a brand new guest with me this week. Another one of my really good friends who I've played a lot of games with throughout the years, and we still continue to play games to this day. And I'm really excited to talk about his journey. Some of the things that he has kind of experienced with gaming, but also I really want to talk about how fitness can be incorporated into gaming, or how people who live a sedentary lifestyle with gaming or streaming can kind of get into that. So I'm super excited. So I want to welcome in my good friend Derek. How you doing?
Pretty well.
Good.
Can't complain.
You're
Life is
looking.
good.
You're looking good.
Thanks, man.
You're looking
I I,
good.
th- I think it's the beard oils and butters that I've
Mm,
been putting in.
we love
I
that.
think that's it. Yeah.
We love that. We love that. Uh, so introduce yourself a little bit. Who are you?
Well, Derek McDonald is the name. I am currently living in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Grew up in Flint. I've lived Michigan, Kansas, now North Carolina. Um, Pretty normal guy. Average dude, I would say. I like the gym. I like fitness. I like games. I like building PCs. I like collecting cards. I'm a jockey nerd, I guess, if you want to consider me that.
That's a good title.
But but yeah, I mean that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I'm a easygoing dude.
I love that. Jockey nerd. I'm gonna start calling
Yeah,
you that. I'm gonna start
that
calling
might
you
be
that.
I might change that to my new screen name.
Jockey nerd.
Jockey nerd.
Yeah, I like it. I
Yeah,
like it. So what's kind of been um your gaming journey? What's that been like? Um, so like when did you start gaming, and where are you kind of at now with it?
man. Started a long time ago. The Sega Genesis was my first system.
Okay.
I remember playing Sonic on it,
Hmm.
all versions of Sonic. That was one of the earliest games that I can remember. Uh, my grandma, I used to play this Bible game with her. It was like I don't even remember. Like it's one of the fondest memories I have, sitting on her waterbed, and she always liked for me to play this Bible game.
Hmm.
And my favorite one was Noah's Ark, where you were Noah and you had to go collect two of the same animal. But played that, Sonic, NBA Jam, all the typical Sega games. That's
Okay.
really what got my start with video games. But I think what really hit it home for me was Pokemon
Hmm.
on the Game Boy and Pokemon Blue. I'm a different one. Everybody likes red, but blue was my jam. I had that on my little green Game Boy Pocket,
Love that.
and I would sit on the porch when it was sun time, or sun time. What am I talking about? When it was daylight out, and today's kids don't get it. You couldn't play Game Boy in the dark.
Right.
You had to have sunlight to see the screen, and I would sit on my steps on my porch and play that for hours.
Hmm.
And man, that was the first ever video game I ever played through and beat.
Hmm.
Like an actual storyline. Like I wouldn't really consider Sonic an entire storyline,
Right.
yeah, levels and all that, but yeah, so that's really what got my start. Then moved to more complicated stuff. The Ocarina of Time
Hmm.
is forever my favorite game for the N64. I have beat it multiple times, through and through, to the point where I pretty much know how to beat the game by heart.
Love that.
And um, yeah, I mean, I still play that to this day. But video games after that, once we get a little bit older, I think it was when we all got separated that I really got really, really back into it to keep us connected.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it's been about to this point. I think at this point in my life, I'm more disconnected from video games than I think I ever have been.
Hmm.
It's more of like a stress relief, mental
Mm-hmm.
break for me for an hour or so, and that's really about all. But I've got all of my stuff here. I've got my GameCube, my 64, tons of DSs, my Dreamcast. I've got a bunch of stuff, man. I like collecting it now, and yeah, it's been a long journey. It's gonna continue.
I love that. and I want to come back to a couple of those points, but the thing for me that was like really funny about that, and I have questions, is like, why did your grandma have a waterbed? Like that could not have been good for her back. Like,
Look, man, my grandma had a waterbed. I had a waterbed. My sister had a waterbed. I guess that's just what we liked in our family. I don't know.
yo,
But look, it
oh,
was so nice because you could turn the temperature up and down. You could make it warm.
interesting.
Man,
Did not know
yeah, you
that.
never. Waterbeds are life changing, man. I don't know why they ever went out of style.
Yeah. Well, probably too many punctured beds. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. I've experienced that. I woke up, man, when my waterbed went out. I was little, man. I was probably like 8, 7 or 8, and I woke up in the middle of the night. And my pants were wet. I thought I peed my pants in my sleep. I was so embarrassed. So I got up and I changed and I got back in bed. And then I woke up again and my pants were wet. I was like, "What's going on with me? Why am I peeing in the bed so much?" So I got up in the morning. I told my mom and dad, and they went in. And they were like, "You didn't pee your pants. Your waterbed popped." I
Oh, love that.
was like, "Oh, okay."
Love that so much.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think it's funny like, with the Game Boy because I very distinctly remember having to buy a light that would plug
Mhm.
into the side and connect to the
Yep.
Game Boy just so you could play it because you couldn't adjust like the brightness of the screen at all. Like,
Right.
and it's
My
funny to think about because like you bring that up, and that's one of the things that's just like in the very back of my mind of like when I was younger, and now like I never would have thought about that again until like somebody else brought that up.
right. Mine was the little one that you attached it, you clipped it to the top of the Game Boy, and it kind of, I don't know how to model this the best. It kind of like flipped up. It was like a
Yep.
tri-layer, so the Game Boy was here, and it had a magnifying glass on it,
Mm-hmm.
and the lights were on the back of the magnifying glass. So you could lift it up and have the lights, or you could
Yep.
have the magnifying glass and the lights.
And see the screen on bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. I had it was one that was just like a bendy arm, um,
Mhm.
for my light, and
Yeah.
yeah, man, I
Also,
forgot about that.
back when you had to buy all the AA and AAA batteries to play, you had
True.
to you had to bring packs and packs if you played for a long time.
Yeah, back when Game Shark existed, man.
Yep.
And then like you couldn't save your game with because it would like break your game. It would like brick it. That
Yep.
was
Well, I
great.
remember the Pokemon game. I thought that was so cool because at that point the internet was like fringe starting to take over,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the first time I learned about the cheat code, the missing no cheat on Pokemon,
Yeah.
where you could get the infinite rare candies and get all your Pokemon up to
Yep.
level 100 easily. And I remember that was a problem too, because that could potentially crash your game doing that
Yep.
cheat.
Yep.
So, but that was like the first major cheat that I ever used in a game because I didn't have Game Shark. I
Yeah.
just
I
had that.
there were I'm trying to think like I've played emulators since
Hmm.
and even I don't know if I did this on Pokemon Sword and Shield because I don't know if there were cheats that exist for that or like Let's Go Eevee like those
Hmm.
on the Switch. I don't know if there were cheats for that, but the what I would always do the rare candies, but then I would always do like all the like the infinite master balls because
So
then
you could catch everything.
yep. But then there was another one, and this is where I don't want to say I got in trouble, but I found the most fun. And people are probably gonna watch this and be like, he was such a dick. Um, there was one that you could turn on that you could catch your opponent's Pokemon.
Mm.
So like you would be in battle with them, or you'd be like at the Elite Four, and then you would have your Master Balls, and then you would just catch all their Pokemon and it would defeat them, and
And
then
you're
you
like,
just
oh, that.
walk away with all
Yeah.
these great Pokemon.
You're like, man, that level 78 Dragonite sounds really great right now. I'll take that.
What a time.
Yeah.
Um so you kind of talked about obviously starting with Pokemon that being kind of your first like story driven game. Obviously like we've played, Modern Warfare throughout time, but what are the games like right now that you lean towards? Like is there a specific like genre of games that you lean towards? I know you play a lot of Overwatch.
Mm.
Um, and I don't want to assume, but I'm going to assume that that's kind of your favorite game to play at this moment, or just have a lot of fun and enjoy playing it.
Yeah, I think what I like about that is that I don't I can choose if I want to or need to think a lot in that game,
Mm,
and I think that's why I like it so much. It's kind of lighthearted, but also strategic at the same
mm-hmm,
time. So I think that's why that's my go-to. I really like owned Overwatch for probably a year before I actually started getting into it.
mm,
And when I first played it, I was like, this is okay, but
right.
any multiplayer game, same way I feel about Fortnite. If I put
Mm-hmm,
time into it, I'm sure I could get good and like it, but I just don't do that. And it was the same thing with Overwatch. And I don't even remember. It was one of my staff members 3 years ago, I think it was, who was like platinum borderline grandmaster level
oh,
in
okay.
competitive, and like he's super good.
Yeah.
And he was kind of teaching me about the different metas and the different strategies
Mm,
for the heroes and things like that, and I really started to understand the game a little bit deeper, and I think that's what made me enjoy it more.
yeah.
So that's what I thought was pretty cool. So Overwatch is definitely probably my go-to right now, just
Okay.
because I can play it mindlessly or I can play it strategically. But
Mm-hmm,
um, I've been really getting into more of just like the casual style games, like things that are really lighthearted and not very dark. Like I'm
mm,
looking through my Steam library right now, and I got a lot of different things, but I think, like let's see, like Raft I played for a while because
mm,
that's kind of casual and easygoing. Um, Man, yeah, I've got a whole list of different things. I've been getting more into like the open world
okay.
exploration kind of things too, because I don't I don't always like games that have missions or anything like
Mm,
that, because like work is already overwhelming enough
true.
sometimes. Like I want to come home and not feel stressed out. So,
Right.
so that's why I like those casual games, ones that are kind of more bright, colorful, lighthearted. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're more like campaign-esque driven, but also like games where you're just able to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I'm hearing.
Hmm.
But I definitely understand like that feeling of not wanting to be overwhelmed by missions. I'm feeling that and have been feeling that since I started playing Ghost of Tsushima. Um,
Hmm.
because like I look and every time I play it or stream it, I'm just like there are so many side missions.
Yeah.
Like man, like yeah, you're getting the content, but at the same time, I'm just like this is wild. Like this
Right.
you could honestly probably spend 90 to 100 hours like on that game just doing like side missions and
Yeah. Well, man, you asked me a year ago, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey would have been my
mm,
go-to. I have 110 hours logged on it, and that game I dude, hook, line, and sinker. I was in it. Like
eh,
it got me, and that has so many side missions, such a large
mm,
map, and the story, like Greek mythology style
yep.
story, which I like that setting. So that was pretty cool too, because that's another one that it's kind of you can go at your own pace, but you can also go at the story's pace if you want
Hmm.
to, which I like.
And that's the one that was their first take on an RPG, right? Like with
First,
Assassin's Creed, like because you were able to upgrade like your like sheet, like what like you different things as part of like your character.
I want to say I think Origins was the first one that did that.
Okay,
I know that Origins, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, a lot of people from what I read, because I never played Origins. Odyssey is really the first one that I ever really played through.
okay,
But I read that Odyssey took everything that Origins did well and fixed the things that it didn't do as
mm.
well, and that's what Odyssey is from what I read.
Yeah. I think Origins was the last one that I played, and I
Mm.
it was really odd for me because it didn't feel to in my opinion because I had played all the other Assassin's Creed games like it didn't feel like Assassin's Creed because I think of that RPG component. Um,
Right.
so I didn't finish the game. I got to a point like for me, and if you're interested, I don't know if you've played this or not. Black Flag was my
Hmm.
favorite Assassin's Creed. Still is.
Yep.
Um,
I've heard a lot of great about it, and I think that's the thing that you'd probably like about Odyssey to an extent,
Hmm.
because it does have that RPG style where you upgrade your things,
Yeah.
which I enjoy, but it also takes a lot of the water
Hmm.
parts from Black Flag, because a lot of it is ship based, and that's
Yep.
how you get from island to island in the
Okay.
game. And some of the ship things you have to do
Hmm.
because of the story mode and certain people that you have to kill.
Yep.
But it took the water part from Black Flag,
Hmm.
because I know that that's primarily what that game was about, was being on a ship, right?
Yeah. And I think it's funny, and I don't know that there's been any announcement with this, but Activision, because Black Flag was so successful and people loved like the ship battles of it, like they were coming out with Skull and Bones, which was like their take of like Sea of Thieves, but
Okay.
like it's gotten delayed so many times because it was literally just a focal point on like ship battles, and you could like play with your friends and have your own like armada um to go against other armadas, like and it just kept being delayed. I don't know if it's been canceled. I'm kind of interested to see, but yeah, that part was always like my favorite. I think was being able to like upgrade my ship and battle people.
Yeah.
So yeah, so with gaming now, you talked about it being kind of like that stress relief, is that and that kind of way to connect, with us and like the rest of the group who we're all in different states, and that's been
Right.
kind of a common denominator that I've seen with everyone in our group that I've you know brought on, and it's interesting because we all have very different um, styles and preferences when it comes to games, but I think
Hmm.
that we find a way to connect with each other, right? And
Right.
um, I think that's important. And I think about people who, if you're watching this podcast, like as you get older, and this is what I've noticed, and Derek, I'd be curious to hear your thought, but I am starting to prefer story driven games, but the reason that I play multiplayer games is to be able to connect with my friends. So I don't know what your thoughts, and that was never the case. Like I loved multiplayer growing up. Like Halo was, and I've talked about this multiple times. Like Halo was my favorite thing to play online. Like I would come home from school and I would play Halo multiplayer. Um, so what does that kind of look like for you? Like do you share similar thoughts, or like where do you kind of fall on that?
I would say I like story. I think, uh, like, I play games because I want to enjoy it,
Mm-hmm.
and with multiplayer, the kind of love-hate relationship that I have with it is that I've never been incredible at
Mm.
any game. Like, I'm always, I can find a way to be pretty decent at a
Yeah.
game, I think, but I'm never like great, or I'd never put in the time, energy to really be great at a game.
Mm.
Just because for me, I've got other things that I like to put my focus on, and
Right.
games isn't what I want to make a career out of. I just want to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And so with multiplayer, I think more so in college, I played multiplayer. Me and Robbie played tons of Call of Duty,
Mm.
Modern Warfare 2, and we played a lot of Modern Warfare 3 together,
Yeah.
um, which we got pretty good at. But I think I played that a lot because I was with you guys on it.
Mm.
And what I don't like about multiplayer is that, matchmaking is always so challenging because you can play against people that just make the game absolutely miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And I leave, like, I get on a game to have fun and enjoy myself, and I leave the game mad and angry, and
Yep.
I don't like that feeling. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't get into Overwatch as competitively, because it's a toxic environment
Mm.
in the competitive realm of it, like very, very toxic.
Mm.
And you do one thing wrong, or you don't do what people think you should do, and they rip you apart and
Right.
just tear you down. And so I think that's why I like the story mode or story driven games a lot more, because I can choose if I want it to be a challenge or if I want to dial it back and
Mm-hmm.
make it more easy and just kind of enjoy the story. Um, I read this post about video games that made a lot of sense to me, and it was like people read a book to immerse themselves into a whole nother world and take themselves into a different story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with video games. Video games is a physical book.
Mm.
Like what you're doing in a video
Yeah.
game takes you away into a whole new world, just as if a book would.
Mm.
I mean, you have the ability. Like Overwatch has a ton of lore to it that you
Right.
could learn about the heroes, and I think Fortnite does. Uh, they try to add some sort of story as to why the
Yeah.
map is the way it is and things like that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a sense, it does the same purpose for people as a book would. I'd be
Mm.
curious to hear Robbie's take because he's more of a reader than I am,
Right.
but I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so
Yeah.
all that to answer your question, story driven is more so up my speed. But with me not putting a lot of time in one session to play a game, I typically just get on Overwatch, play a couple rounds, and then get
Mm-hmm.
off.
Yeah, and I think about, that kind of immersion, and I've talked about that in a couple other episodes of, especially when I was playing The Last of Us, and
Hmm.
um, Zach would come into the stream, and he would be like, dude, I love watching this. Like, I
Hmm.
would never play this, but I love watching it because the immersion just is so realistic. Like, there's
Hmm.
like, you can hear birds chirping, like the sounds it makes, like when you walk, like it's just that whole piece of like you're there, right? And
Right.
obviously, where technology has been. I think about when gaming first started, right? I mean, that was a long time ago, but within the last 20, 30 years, how advanced gaming has become.
Hmm.
Like, where do you think that immersion piece will be at in the next 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years, I don't know. I mean, I think it's such a niche part of gaming, but I think VR is going to pick up a little bit more.
Hmm.
And you're seeing a lot of people want to build, particularly with PCs, but Xbox and PlayStation have it too. And I'm sure the Xbox Series, what is it, Series X? Is
Yep.
that what it is? And the PS5 are going to have advanced VR
Hmm.
capabilities, I'm sure. And people want to build PCs that have VR capability. And I think eventually at a point, like my best example of it is the book Ready Player One.
Mm-hmm.
like like I think too at some point that's going to become a potential reality of
Mm-hmm.
people being able to live a whole another life in a completely different world. And I think that's what people love so much about games is that
Mm-hmm.
you can make such good friends with people that you've never met in real life from a game that's connected you with somebody across the world or the
Mm-hmm.
country or things like that. So I think that's the whole ploy of this idea of gaming nowadays because a lot of things are so heavily multiplayer based
Mm-hmm.
and that I mean it's just going to keep finding ways to get deeper and deeper through. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more like co-op stories and things like
Mm-hmm.
that too because that's something we haven't really seen a lot of, I feel like. So think of like um, The Last of Us. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say you had I played this a long time ago. What's the Ellie? Is that the girl's name?
Yeah.
In it, Ellie. So Ellie and the guy, I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to play co-op with somebody else, and one of you is each character, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're roaming through the story. Like that's what I think it's going to end up.
Yeah.
Like we're going to see that a little bit more.
And I would love that because I think I've played one co-op story-driven game, and that was um A Way Out. And I don't know
Yeah,
if you're familiar with that, but it's
me and Robbie beat it.
okay, yeah, because Sean
Yeah.
and I played it together, um, which I really enjoyed because yes, you're playing it together, but you're getting two different perspectives, and there are parts in the story where you are separate, and so you're getting like a story within that story, which I think is really cool. Um, and so I would love to see more of those. I think that'd be super super cool. And you bring up Ready Player One, and I was thinking about as well, like the movie Gamer with Gerard Butler that came out like 10 years ago. It has to have been at this point, maybe even longer than that. But it was really the idea of like VR, and then like what is it, like sense, it was like different technology that appealed to different senses. So like the things that you were doing in the game, like you could feel or smell, and like as crazy as it sounds, like I think we're gonna get to a point where that is a reality. Like I think the way that technology has been and the way that immersion is happening, I think that VR is gonna get to that point, which is crazy to think about.
I wouldn't be surprised if people are working on it already.
True.
Like I think that's something that's going to take a long, long time to do if it ever happens. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's people that have already thought about it and are trying
Hmm.
to find ways to see how that could even work.
Yeah, because I think about like Universal Studios, for example. Like they have like the 4D shows, like the Shrek 4D or like whatever, where
Hmm.
like they pump like the smells, or they pump like you feel things, whether it's connected to your seat or whatever. And I think about that, like they could do that on a smaller scale. I don't know how it would work, but I think that they could do it, which is
Yeah, like it may have to start with maybe like what am I trying to say? Like a store or like a company that starts a in-store area that they're able to equip like rooms with smells and things
mm-hmm.
like that, maybe. Uh, but I think eventually at some point we I think we're gonna see something pretty unreal exist within our lifetime
Mm-hmm.
with video games, with how popular they're getting and with all the money that these companies like Epic Games and Riot Games and all these companies are making from the games that they're creating.
Absolutely.
We're gonna see something completely different. I'm sure of it.
Absolutely. um it's gonna be wild, and I can't wait.
Mhm.
It's kind of scary to think about, but also like I can't wait. I think it'll be fun.
Right.
um so obviously, like on top of gaming, collecting, um building computers, a big part of your life is nutrition and fitness, right?
Hmm.
So obviously I was joking about this with Derek prior to the episode, but I was like, man, it is perfect because he's got his weights in the background. He's showing off the muscles
I got
today.
my supplement. Wait, my
Yeah,
supplements are right there.
just perfect. It's a perfect fit for this episode.
Hmm.
Um, so what does that look like for you? As far as just like fitness and nutrition, um, in general, and then I kind of want to dive into that a little bit deeper of what people might be able to do. If they are streamers, and whether they're streaming full time, casual streamers, like they
Hmm.
game, their sedentary lifestyle.
Hmm.
So we'll get into that in the second part. But like, what is fitness and nutrition look like for you? What, and then kind of like what got you so interested in it?
Well, I'll start with what got me interested because that is an experience in and of itself, and part of it is uh, really like a personal thing, which I don't mind sharing. I'll talk
Hmm.
about, but just so people know and they're not like, oh gosh, like I can't believe he said that. Like it's personal for
Hmm.
sure, but when uh when I was, gosh, it was a junior year of college, and I think my weight was 245 or hitting 250.
Hmm.
It was pretty up there, and it was my first year as a housing ambassador. So for this is a story I told on Frank's podcast too. The housing ambassador, people that aren't familiar, basically we gave tours of housing in the residence halls and
Hmm.
um, showed the showroom to prospective parents and students to show them what living on campus would look like. And my first summer working that job out of the three that I did, like our showroom was on the third floor of the building. The fourth floor was the main floor because it was
Hmm.
on a hill. So I went down to the third floor to show the showroom and walked back up a flight of stairs to go talk about the IT office. And I walked up the flight of stairs, and I was so winded from walking up that flight that I couldn't. I had to stop. I had to tell the group, I just need a second so I can catch my breath, and then I'll start the tour again. And like, that's a pretty big blow.
Mm.
That's pretty embarrassing that you can't even finish a sentence because you walked up a single story of steps. And
Mm-hmm.
so when that happened, I like that was it. It clicked. Like, I texted Billy, who also for the fans of the show is a good friend of mine, who at that time was working at a GNC and
Mm.
studying exercise physiology. And I was like, man, just I've got like $100. I'm gonna buy supplements to do this because if I put money into it, then I'm gonna stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought my first set of supplements, and I mean the rest was the rest. Went to the gym with me, kind of showed me the way, and that summer, I think I ended up losing 40 pounds over 3 months or something like that.
Awesome.
And it was a big change. And part of that fire that I had driven was once I realized that how out of shape I was, it kind of connected me back when my dad passed. So like
Mm.
this is the very personal part because he had a poor diet and lifestyle, and he passed away from cardiac arrest
Mm.
essentially. And um, me being trying to be a forward thinker, I'm like, man, I need to make sure that I'm around for my kids because I know
Mm.
what it's like to not have a dad around. And um, that's kind of what's keeping me driven,
Okay.
every day, because that's never going to change. And
Right.
my plan is to have kids eventually. So once you're a dad, you're never not a dad, and once I'm a dad, I need to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what motivates me, I think, as far as and what got me started. And I think as far as what it looks like for me now, like quarantine has killed everything that I was had momentum for.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting back into powerlifting. I had my deadlift back over 400 pounds. My bench was over 300 pounds. My squat is my weak lift, but that was in the mid 300s. And
Mm.
I was feeling good. I was losing weight. I was leaner than I had been, and then everything shut down. So now a lot of my workouts, they're in the morning. I've got weights over there, but it's more fast paced kind of work.
Mm.
It's been harder to stay motivated and stay on top of it working out in a place where it's my game room. Like
Right.
this is where I like to relax. But so it's hard to come in here and work out too, but at the same time it's the only space I've got.
Mm.
So that's it's kind of what it's boiled down to at this point. But I think another part of it is just making conscious decisions through the day of, am I going to drive to this thing that I have to do on campus, or am I going to walk,
Mm.
or am I going to go for a walk in the morning or in the evening? I don't feel like doing a run or doing a workout. Let me at least go move. And you don't have to do anything fancy. You just got to
Mm.
move, and that creates a healthier lifestyle when you just start developing that habit to be mobile.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of already are getting into it, but like for people, whether they're gaming, whether they're streaming full time, they have a desk job, they're most of their work is sedentary. Like, what are some things that people might be able to do? Like, whether that's while they're gaming, um, whatever that might look like, just to get them into a position to potentially be more healthy. Like,
hmm Well, I would say like all of it starts with diet, right? And this whole thing, like I've always said that I want to try to start something to kind of break that stereotype of when people think about a gamer or a
hmm
nerd, if you want to say that it's
yeah,
somebody who's overweight with acne on their face, sitting slouched in their chair, playing their games and typing on their
right,
keyboard like that, how they're portrayed, because that's not always the case.
right,
And like, how do we break that stereotype? So that's something I'm consciously thinking about how I'm going to change that. But I think a lot of it starts with what you're doing every day with what you're eating.
mm,
And uh, people who play games, especially play them competitively, need to treat themselves just as much like an athlete as an athlete would,
mm,
because I would argue just as much, if not more, you need mental sharpness
Mm.
because when you're playing a game, you're making decisions quick
Right.
and you have to be very precise, and that takes practice, but at the same time, also it takes mental clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're eating more natural food, you're getting the vitamins, the nutrients that your body needs
Mm.
to operate, its natural functions. Your mental clarity is going to be there a lot more than if you're eating a bunch of processed food or drinking a bunch of sugary drinks, things like that. So I think diet is where it starts with anything,
Mm.
with a healthy lifestyle, gamer or not, athlete or not. Um, but outside of that, I mean, I would say movement. Like if you're trying to physically be in better shape, movement. If you're in between matches on Fortnite, when you're waiting, dude, I don't know, get up and do 10 jumping jacks or 10
Mm.
push-ups and just get your blood flowing because like sitting like this a lot really is bad for your body. And a lot of the education that I've gotten says that sitting is one of the leading causes of death in the country. It's just not attributed to anything because people don't think when you sit it's killing you.
Mm.
But it
Interesting.
gives a lot of lower body or lower back issues, which
Mm-hmm.
a lot of bone degeneration stems from lower back issues. So a
Mm.
lot of arthritis and osteoporosis and things like that come from lower back problems. And so you have to find ways to get up and move and not be sitting for a long time. I'm sorry, my mom is blowing my text up right now. I've got 7 messages from her.
No, you're okay.
Hold on.
You're
Uh,
okay. You gotta love parents. I feel like with my mom, like I'll try and call her and then she never answers and then she calls me and like I answer right away and I'm like, why do you never answer your phone when I need you?
I think she thinks I'm my brother.
I love that.
Sorry, sorry, but yeah, getting up and moving is really gonna help you absolutely more than
Mm.
anything. If and that's even like if you have anybody that's curious about what they can do, like that has to be a conversation. So like me and you would have to talk about how long are you playing a game for on a
Mm.
regular session and how many breaks do you get during a session? How long are the breaks? What are little things that we can throw in there
Mm.
to get you up, to get you moving? Like, is it feasible for you to get up and do like 10 push-ups and 10 air squats every time you have a break in between a
Mm.
match? Because that'll add up. You
Right.
play 10 or 20 games, that ends up being 200 push-ups and air squats, which is a lot.
That is a lot.
and that'll develop your muscle at the
Yeah.
same time, even though you're sitting. And I don't think people see how it adds up like that.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, if you or anybody that from your stream it wants to make that change, I mean, I'm certified. I'm certified personal training. I'm certified as a nutrition coach. Those are things I can help with. Um, I think that's really why I got them, was so I could know how to help
Mm.
people a little bit better. And I think that would be the starting point. And then I also think, um, yeah, I'm not trying to go too much on a tangent, but I
Oh,
also
you're
think
fine.
that avoiding, like I said, the snacks, the sugary drinks, a lot
Mm.
of energy drinks. Even I'm a fan of energy drinks, but you can also if you really want some more mental focus, they have like pre-workouts that are made with nootropics that are supposed to be for mental focus to
Mm.
help you in a gym, which also can help in a video game setting. Um, it gives you the energy, the sharpness,
Mm-hmm.
like you would need if I can go do a full workout with it and be really focused on the movements I'm doing. I'm sure that it's going to help me pay attention
Right.
to a couple of rounds of the game I'm going to play. So
Yeah.
things like that too would help. High protein snacks, protein bars, protein
Mm.
shakes instead of chips, stuff like that. That can be easy solutions.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I took Jacked. When I used to take Jacked, I was like, man, I'm just
Yeah.
like in the zone. And I almost wonder if like that's why like G Fuel is so popular
Hmm.
among gamers and streamers is because it's marketed as
Hmm.
like gamer fuel, but it I've never had it because I've become, the older I get, the more sensitive I get to that stuff. So like
Hmm.
I wonder if that also helps towards that like mental clarity. I'd be interested to see.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever had G Fuel or not and can speak to that, but
I haven't. No. All of the things that I've had like that have been, I guess, marketed for. I'll just put it this way: the stuff I take is marketed for working out,
yeah.
but it's all pretty much the same.
Hmm.
It's just marketed a different way.
Yeah. And one of the things that I'd be interested. I don't even know if they still make these anymore, to be honest. Um, but I remember at one point in time there was like an under like the desk. Essentially, it was like an under the desk bike that was literally just the pedals
Yeah.
that you could do.
Yep.
Like I even think things like that could like potentially help. And I was telling you this before, um, we started recording, that I made like the impulse decision to buy a Peloton, um, because for me, like I spend so much time gaming and streaming, and just like being in my apartment in general, and with everything being closed anyway, like I need to find a way because I am not getting
Right.
enough movement. So, um, I'm curious
Well,
to see how that goes for sure.
well, I'll tell you one of the things that I've been really contemplating buying, and I know Robbie did too, is a standing desk.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Just just because standing is inherently healthier for your body. It's
Yeah.
your body's natural position to stand than sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the nice ones that, your stuff is here and you can raise it. When you
Mm-hmm.
get tired, you can lower it back, you can sit. And that's even a good way to change it up. Those can be a little expensive, but
Yeah.
it's like at what cost? Basically, if I'm putting it blunt, like what price would you put on life?
Yeah.
Because like
True.
what decisions are you going to make that are going to extend your livelihood?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it boils down to at its simplest form.
Yeah, and I know that I was talking to Robbie about this, that he loves that desk. The one thing that worries me about that is having all the equipment that I have on my desk currently.
Yep.
I don't think that I would be able to get one of those because I'm like it's just gonna break. I'm just expecting it to just drop and everything
Right.
else is just ruined. So,
Well,
um,
for the setup that you have, you would have to get like because what do you have? Three monitors?
three
Four?
monitors,
Three?
then PC, looking into getting into a second one. Yeah,
Yeah. So like with that, like if you had a more permanent setup, like a more permanent place of living,
yeah.
I would say you could even get a monitor mount for the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and then the desk could just be your keyboard, all of that, and
Yeah.
then you could raise the arm on your monitors to level higher
That is the
with you.
goal eventually.
Yeah.
Is to be able to mount on the wall and even add like a TV above, so I have like essentially four monitors. That's eventually the goal, but
Mm.
obviously, living in a residence hall,
Yep.
you can't necessarily mount things on walls, which is
Yep.
you love to see it. But
Yeah.
for anyone that's like struggling or are just getting into like fitness and nutrition, or even just fitness, like what advice do you have for people?
Uh, I think understand why you want to do it.
Hmm.
Uh, I plug, right? I do a lot of work with First Form, and I do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
work with trainings with people that work at their headquarters often.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things one of them said was discipline exists when motivation is absent.
Mm.
And like you have to know, I guess like this is a multi-layered approach. You have to know your why
Mm.
because you have to understand your purpose, right? Of,
Mm.
of trying to do something and make a change, but also being able to reflect on that why and truly understand it. Is that why for you? Is it for other people? Like
Mm.
for me, the impact is on other people, but the why is for myself, uh, for my own health, for me being able to be around with my family, my friends,
Mm-hmm.
um, opposed to is it because you want other people to see you with six pack abs, or
Mm.
do you want other people to think you look better? Like that's not as driving of a
Mm-hmm.
factor as it is when it's internal. And so I think you have to understand your why, and it has to be personal to you. And then, dude, you just got to do it. And I know that's not the best
Hmm.
advice, but man, dude, like that's what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm.
You wake up, and if you want to go do a workout, you have a choice to either do it or not, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
You have to train yourself to be able to say, I'm going to do this even if I don't want to, which I even struggle with.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's a decision,
Mm-hmm.
just like everything else that you do, and you have to train yourself to make it a part of your regular life to make those decisions. So being conscious about what's my purpose and why am I doing it, and is that for me, and being able to check yourself when you're making the decisions.
Hmm.
I think that's where I would start, and that's where having a coach and a trainer and things like that is really helpful, because that's the hardest tool for people to develop, is being able to say, yes, I'm going to go do it when I really don't want
Mm-hmm.
to.
Yeah. I mean, and I think too, like that, kind of tying it all back in together, like even with gaming, with streaming, with whatever, in order to be successful and in order to be quote unquote happy with whatever your decision is, like you need to start by doing.
Hmm.
Um, and I think of like professional gamers, right? Like they practice all of the time, and I'm sure there are days that they're like, I don't want to do this, but
Hmm.
it's about doing it. And I mean,
Right.
same with streaming. Like there are days that I don't want to stream, because it's a tough day. But I know that when I hit that go live button, things are going to be better because I enjoy the community. I enjoy talking to people that way. And I mean, I think that's the same thing with fitness. Kind of what you just said is
Yep.
you just got to do it. Put your
Hmm.
mind to it and do it.
Right. And that's something, that like I said, I'm still trying to figure out myself too,
Mhm.
and figuring. I think the hard thing, it's easy to say I'm going to do it, but the hard thing is to figure out what to do.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the things that I'm still trying to work on too, and figure out what it is that I'm going to do. And I've been really contemplating for a long time developing a YouTube channel, and
Mm.
just trying to figure out what it's going to be, and figuring out like how to blend all this stuff together. And like I tell you and I joke with you, but I really got back into collecting Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh
Mhm.
cards. And how can I blend that with playing video games with also fitness, all in a YouTube channel? And I know
Mhm.
that you have to have a niche, but I think at the same point in time, you have to enjoy what you're doing
Right.
as well. So I think that goes back to figuring out, like, where do you start?
Mhm.
You bought a Peloton. I assume you have some sort of joy in bikes
Mm.
somehow, some way.
Yeah.
If you don't, I really hope that you can develop that, because it really helps,
Yeah.
and that's why it's easier for me to get up and do a weight workout versus go for a run, because
Mhm.
I hate running,
Same.
but I like weights,
Yeah.
and so it's figuring out what is it that you enjoy, but still at the same time you have to be willing to go out and push yourself a little bit. So every
Mhm.
now and then I will go on a run. Um, Not very often, but when I do, it's like a mile and a half to 3 miles when I do
Mm.
it, and I push myself to try to go farther,
Yeah.
just because it's a different way of doing training. But yeah, I think that goes with anything you're gonna set out to do, whether it's trying to stream. You have to be really calculated with it. You have to understand it, but you also have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, like,
Absolutely.
understand what kind of community you want to develop within your channel,
Mhm.
and how you're going to develop that, who you're going to have help you develop that, and how that's going to be regulated.
Mhm.
I think that goes with all sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with all of that. And at the end of the day, like it's about what it is that you want to achieve, and are you willing to put in the
Hmm.
work to get to that point.
Right.
Um, but I want to kind of wrap up here, and as we wrap up, I want to give you. I mean, you've plugged a few different things, and I think that honestly, like the YouTube series or the YouTube channel, like I think it would be so cool if one of the episodes you did, if you get to this point as like as a gamer, as a streamer, like focused on what those individuals can do to put themselves in a better position,
Mm.
mentally and physically. And I think that would be super awesome. So I want to give you, a few moments here to just kind of plug anything that you're working on, anything that you kind of, want people to check out, how people can reach you if they're interested in, learning more, if that's something that you're offering. And I'll give you that
Sure.
platform now. So
Sure. I mean, a lot of what I operate through right now is through Instagram. That's pretty much my sole social media platform. So I think you've got it somewhere
yeah,
around
it's right
here
below.
on the screen
Yeah.
down here.
Yep.
Okay. Uh, at DS McDonald, a lot of my content on there is fitness focused, and I think you're gonna start seeing that integrate more towards what I keep talking about this YouTube channel potentially being with fitness and trading cards, and every now and then I'll put like a Overwatch clip
Hmm.
or something like that on there too, because that is part of like what I do and what I like.
Yeah.
So give me a follow on that if you're interested, and if anybody out there is curious about things that they can do to make changes in their lives, like I've been writing weekly plans for
Hmm.
people and pretty much doing a like a $15 a week rate,
Hmm.
of written plans with guidance on nutrition and exercises and basically workout plans that I'm writing for people. So that I really try to put the time in,
Hmm.
asking people what kind of equipment do you have, what's available for you,
Hmm.
what are your goals, like, what time frame do you want those goals to be reached in, and paying attention to is there any medical things I need to know about so I don't overstrenuate you, if
Right.
strenuate is a word, uh, and things like that. So if there's anybody out there that's interested in that, like they can get a hold of me and figure it out.
Hmm.
And I'm even fine with giving people like a sample just to make sure it works before I even talk about pay,
Hmm.
because sometimes it may not be the right fit.
Right.
It's just kind of what it is. So I'm happy to help out with that too. And people can reach out to me about that through Instagram. They can also email me, um, dsmacdon. So my first initial, middle initial, half of my last name, and then OU. So dsmacdonou@gmail.com. Um, that's my email address if people want to email me. But Instagram's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Perfect. And I'll put that link down in the description of the video as well, so they're going to easily connect to you that way.
Okay.
And as we kind of wrap up here, I think this just came to my mind. I think it would be really cool if you like developed like a workout plan that was based on like Overwatch characters that like gears towards that jockey nerd, like, so like this is like the Doomfist workout, like
Yeah.
based on like whether it's their abilities or what. I think that would be there's an idea for you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I never thought about that before.
I
That's
like
a
that.
cool idea.
I like that. So
Yeah,
Derek, I want to thank you for being on
of
this
course.
week and talking about a wide variety of things. I'm really hoping that those that watch this episode learn kind of some things about fitness and nutrition, and are able to take some of those things and put them into practice. And as it translates to gaming, I think there's a lot of things that kind of overlap and can overlap, in that whether it's the mindset, the motivation, whatever that looks like. Um, so I appreciate you being on. I would love to have you on again in the future to talk about more things. And
For sure.
um, yeah, thanks for hanging out. And for those of you that are at this point in the video, if you could drop a like, comment, share, subscribe, I would really appreciate that. We are on the road to 100 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So thanks for hanging out on this Friday evening, and we will see you next